picture this. You want to learn a new language, but where do you even start? How do you find the resources that you need? Because tips are great and all that, but what are you going to do? Where are you going to look for resources to learn that language? Hi, I'm Stephanie, and in today's video, I'll talk to you about how to find resources. So thank you for coming back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but yeah, life's been hectic. So thank you for watching my videos again. And if you're new here, I love languages, and on this channel, I give my tips and tricks on how to learn languages best. So when it comes to finding resources, I feel like we are living in this golden age of resources, because even as soon as like 10 or 20 years ago, there was just not as much. And I'm not even going to talk before the internet came on the stage, but even in the early days, there wasn't that much. Before that, it was even harder to find resources. So truly, when it comes to language learning, we have it so easy today and we don't even realize. But the thing is that when it comes to languages, and when it comes to really anything, when you have too much of a choice, it can be hard. So the more choices you have, the harder it is to choose, and you can very easily feel overwhelmed in a sea of resources. So that's on one hand. On the other, you can be like, well, where do I find resources to begin with? Like, how do I know what to search for? Like, how do I even know what to put in the search bar, right? Because where do you even start? You don't know what you don't know, so you don't know what to type in. If you are totally new and you have no idea about what resources might be out there, you can't even properly have a Google or a YouTube search. So it can be really difficult, and that's what I want to dedicate this video to. Like, how do you navigate the sea of resources? How do you find the ones that will work for you? And basically, what do you do to make that process easier for you? So how do you utilize Google, for example, in the best way possible? Now, there's a very obvious way, but I have to get it out of the way. So you can very easily just type in best books in Spanish, or best TV shows, or best podcasts, or best, like, let's say, websites to learn Spanish or anything like that. So that, of course, that is a no-brainer. You can do that, but what can you do beyond that that's going to help you learn? You can simply Google topics of interest. If you are not new to the channel, then you know I'm all about comprehensible input. If you are new, then real quick, I have a lot of videos on the topic, but comprehensible input is, to me, the best way to learn language, getting content that you enjoy and learning from that. So if you want to find that content beyond typing top movies, top books, whatever, you can just go by interest. I believe that learning by interest and learning by passion is huge. It really helps you learn better, because when it's something you're interested in, it's just like you read with pleasure or you watch with pleasure, and it's just so much easier for the language to get in your head. So really, the way you go about it is, you think, okay, what is my interest? Let's say you're interested in fashion. Let's say you're learning Spanish. So you can just simply type in moda or estilo or whatever kind of word and whatever kind of specific type of fashion or style tricks you're interested in. Doesn't matter really. You go in and you type that. You can use a translator if you don't know how to say, knitting in Spanish or some word like that, whatever your interest might be. You just type that in, and then what you're gonna see is a lot of websites that talk about that topic. Possibly, Google's gonna give you some YouTube channel recommendations. Possibly it's gonna lead you to, let's say, magazines that are dedicated on that topic. So that's a great way to find resources. Just, translating your interest into another language, just putting that in the search bar, it works wonders. But if you want to go one step deeper than that, let's say that you want to watch videos on a certain topic, because video content is an amazing way to learn a language. Videos are so easy to use, because they'll have, a lot of times they'll have subtitles. You get audio and visual cues as well, so it's like you're reading, you're listening, you get the context again through just the setting and everything. And they're usually like, if you go on YouTube, like 10 to 20 minutes, the majority of the videos are within that time frame. So it can be super easy to kind of have that little snippet of language learning in the day when you're busy. You don't have time for a 2-hour session or whatever. So you can really simplify the way you search for things if you create separate Google accounts. I know that, it's not very comfortable, it's just not that convenient if you are using multiple accounts for 10 languages or something. But for the languages that, if you don't happen to study that many, or for the languages that you have the most difficulty finding content in, you can create a brand new Google account, and then that will give you access to a brand new YouTube account. And once you have that, once you type in whatever that phrase that you found before to search on Google, once you type in that phrase in YouTube, then that new account is gonna constantly recommend things to you in that language that you kind of did the first few searches in. Not always, but usually, the more searches you have in one language, the better. And the regular Google account, and by extension YouTube account that you use, it might already be too contaminated with like music and like all the channels you follow. So let's say you're studying French, you want to start from scratch. Having a separate YouTube account is going to be great, because the algorithm is going to recommend you only French content if you use that channel to only view French stuff on it. So that, it goes beyond your initial couple of searches on YouTube and beyond your initial topic of interest. And then the algorithm is going to recommend more and more and more free resources, and you're going to be able to find other topics that you never knew are of interest, or like other channels within that area of interest. For example, you're interested in English or something, or whatever your native language is, in certain channels, but you don't know what the alternative in French is. And that new YouTube channel is going to help you find that alternative much more quickly. Another thing I like to do whenever I'm starting a new language is I like to go to Wikipedia. And there's this great page that Wikipedia has. It's like it exists for almost any language. It's like you type top newspapers in Argentina or Chile or Germany, whatever country, and it gives you like all the major publications and their political leanings, and it's just like a great way to figure out what the news landscape is in a certain country. Because I think news websites are a great way to learn, because just like video, they're short form content, they're articles. Especially as a beginner, it's so much easier to learn news articles than books, because it's not as discouraging. It's, you're done with it more quickly. It doesn't take as much brain power. It's just really nice to get that little snippet of information and little lesson every day. So I really like to use the news to learn, but I don't really know what how do you search for news in Spanish? You can type noticias, but like, what are you gonna get from what country, and what leaning does the newspaper have? So it'll be really nice if you can just kind of pick the newspaper that you like, or maybe you don't like the first couple of results that pop up on Google. Well, then the Wikipedia page is gonna give you all of the major news outlets that country has. And I think that's so useful, because you get not just like the news websites, but you also get like those news websites are part of a larger ecosystem that's like the national TV and radio. For example, like I think the Spanish one that what was it, RTV or something like that, for example, and you're able to have access to like some video content, to podcasts, etc. So some of those news websites are really a behemoth of like lots of other content, and that is a really good way. And I feel like Wikipedia ranking, like Wikipedia just category pages or like laundry lists of newspapers are just amazing to find content. Speaking of local news behemoths, you can also sign up for local streaming services in the language that you like. So Netflix, for example, it's a great way to learn a language, right? Netflix is amazing from that point of view. It gives you a lot of authentic content, subtitles, etc. And sometimes you filter by audio and you get a lot of TV shows. But some languages are not that popular. So yeah, filtering by audio on Netflix is amazing. Great. But let's say you're learning a language that is barely present on Netflix, like Greek. I think there's like one Greek TV show, like authentic Greek on Netflix. So what do you do then? I would say it's amazing if you sign up for like a local streaming service, because then you get all of the regular programming that people in that country of interest are getting. So that can be as easy as like a simple Google search to find. You just go on and be like, okay, local streaming services in country X, because so many times we're conditioned to think that it's just Netflix and Disney and Hulu and that's it. But in the end of the day, there are so many local streamers that like nobody knows about. I can tell you in my country, right, there's a couple that like nobody outside of Bulgaria watches because they are just super local. And sometimes I think you can't even access them if you're not in that country, but that's easily solvable with a VPN. You can check out my description for more info. But that being said, it's just super easy to find local content on those local streamers. So whatever language you're learning, if you feel like Netflix isn't sufficient, you can just simply look it up and find a local streamer, and that can help you a lot. An alternative and also a great way to search for TV shows, be it dubbed or in the original language, in addition to Netflix, is also Language Reactor. And on Language Reactor, you don't just get, what is on Netflix and that great Netflix catalog that they have, but you also get what is on YouTube, and you can find YouTube channels that way if you're like, I don't want to create 20 YouTube accounts. You can also find YouTube channels on Language Reactor. It also lets you find books. It lets you like practice your language with their chatbot, which I think is AI powered. So that is also another great recommendation that I have if you're stuck in finding content. Another way that you can find content is you can use Castbox. And I've spoken about this many times before. I personally listen to podcasts on Apple Podcasts. I just like it. But if I want to find podcasts in a certain language, and it's like you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how to type the name of a podcast you've never heard, right? And it's also really difficult on Apple to search for things by language unless you change your region every single time, and that's just so annoying. So the way I usually do it is I'll go on Castbox, and there's an option there to change, was it country or language? I forget every time. And it's going to give you a lot of content in your target language. So even if you listen to podcasts on Spotify or Apple or like whatever, there's like so many ways to listen. So wherever you get your podcast, it doesn't matter, because you can use Castbox as a great way to search and listen to podcasts if you listen on Castbox. Books are also another great way to learn a language. And if you're like, okay, I've Googled like the top authors in that country, but they don't really speak to me. I want to find something else, something obscure, something less known. But you're like, you can't find any local authors. You don't have to. I feel like books can be great when it comes to learning languages, even translated. It's not a big deal. And I have actually gotten some books that I wanted to read in English, and just, from authors that are English speaking and the original is in English, but I'll just find a translation in whatever language I'm studying. So if you have a favorite book in particular, that can really help if you reread it in another language, especially as a beginner. And especially as a beginner, nonfiction is great because it's easier than fiction. So, who cares if a nonfiction book was translated in your target language? I feel like the biggest thing with books is you don't want a translation if it's like a masterpiece of fiction. Then, okay, you might not want a translation. But in any other situation, you can definitely get a translated version of a book. So if you're like, I know I want to read that, and that book, well, you can just find a copy in your target language. And that is also a great way to kind of cheat into finding resources, because it's simple, it's no fuss, and you don't have to go through a big ton of research. And speaking of simple and saving you a lot of time and saving you a lot of research, I have yet to talk about my favorite method of finding resources, and that's LingQ. You guys know I love them. You know I've partnered with them many times before, and they're kindly sponsoring this video. You know that they were the first sponsor I ever took on this channel, and they're my favorite language learning app. And LingQ is amazing. And of course, when it comes to finding resources, LingQ just saves so much time. If you don't know what LingQ is, it was founded by a legendary polyglot, Steve Kaufman, who I've had the pleasure of interviewing on my channel and who I admire very, very much. My method for learning languages and his method for learning languages are just ridiculously similar. So of course I believe in a lot of the stuff that he says, but LingQ is based so much on comprehensible input, and it has thousands of hours of content. And the advantages of the platform are that, you get all this content, and then you get a great way to create what are called links. So those are kind of like words or phrases or sentences that you save up based on like, are they known? Do you kind of know them? Do you completely know them? And you can then review at your own convenience. What is also very convenient is that you can use it on desktop, but you can also take it with you anywhere you go. So if you're stuck waiting somewhere or something, or you just like to learn with your iPad in bed or with your phone on the subway, you can do that. So LingQ has a mobile version and it also has a web version. And based on what you prefer, you can use either. But the reason that I'm including it in this video for finding resources is because the library of content is amazing. Hands down, the best one I've ever seen. And if you don't want to go through all of my tips that I was giving about how I will find this and that, if you're like, I have no time, I just want the quickest, easiest, simplest way to find resources. Well, when you go on LingQ, you can select resources by level. And, you know, so that's also very good because it can be, even if you find resources, it can be really difficult to find resources in the Goldilocks zone. And the Goldilocks zone is that concept of not too hard, not too difficult. And it's amazing for language learning. I think I don't know a polyglot that doesn't recommend this, you know, to learn within a level that's not too hard and that is not too easy. So LingQ is great because it helps you filter by your level, but also all the work has already been done for you. So people have already uploaded newspaper articles, books, videos, you know, Netflix episodes, podcasts, anything that you can think of in a certain language and also ranked by topic has already been uploaded. So if you're looking for something in sports, LingQ has got you covered. If you're looking for business deals, LingQ has got you covered. If you want to read about culture or cuisine or fashion or cars or history, whatever it might be, LingQ has you covered and by level. So it's really super easy to find content on LingQ, and then it's also super easy to save that content, to create your individualized lesson plan, to have it anywhere you go. It's really wonderful and it's the easiest, fastest way to find resources. So if you don't want to do any work in terms of like research, finding resources, just go on LingQ. You have it all there for you. It's all done and I couldn't recommend it more. So I will link their website in the description below, pun not intended, and then you can check out you know, how to sign up, etc. They do have a free trial, and I also have a little bit of an extra discount for you when you sign up for LingQ, and I'll put all of those details in the box below. Let me know if you have any questions, as always, and I'm so happy to have you back on my channel, and let me know what else you'd like to see from me in the future, what kind of topics you'd like me to cover. I always listen to my subscribers, and yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Please like this video if you appreciate it, and if you're new, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.